What's up YouTube? Tech companies, loved by many and for a good reason. They are the powerhouse behind some of the biggest portfolio gains out there. But did you also know that a lot of these gains are achieved by having really high dividend growth stats? And that some tech companies pay a dividend yield of 2% or more. In this video I will show you the top 10 best dividend paying tech companies. And what better way to kick things off with one of the biggest companies in the world, Apple. Apple is up 30% year to date, which is really impressive. The current market cap is at 3.7 trillion, making them one of the biggest companies in the world. But Apple does come with a premium price. PE ratio is at almost 40, but in return you get one of the highest quality businesses in the world. And not only that, Apple pays a decent dividend. Dividend yield is at 0.4%, which is not the highest of course. But payout ratio is insanely low at 14.5%, so there's plenty of room to grow the dividends in the future. Unfortunately, the current dividend growth rate is at 5%, which is a bit on the lower side. On the bright side, Apple increased their dividends for 11 years in a row. Down the line, you pay a premium for Apple stock. But in the long term, this could perfectly pay off big time. Apple is a high quality business and dividend will add some extra gains for the total return. Moving on to one of the other biggest companies in the world, Microsoft. This stock is up only 20% year to date, which is a bit on the lower side for Microsoft's track record historically. And Microsoft is a 3.3 trillion market cap company. PE ratio is again indicating you pay a premium for the stock. But it is coming down versus the 5-year number, which is the positive sign here. And now moving on to the dividends. Microsoft pays a 0.75% dividend yield, one of the higher dividend yields compared to the other biggest companies in the world. Payout ratio is looking really good at only 25%, and the 5-year growth rate is also looking really good at 10%. On top of that, Microsoft increased the dividends for 20 years in a row. Down the line, I really get excited about Microsoft stock lately. The business is improving and the stock is coming down a bit, or not up as drastically as it did historically, especially after the earnings. This could lead to better valuation and a great time to pick up some shares. And now moving on to one of the more interesting companies on this list, Taiwan Semiconductors. This stock is up a whopping 100% year to date, massively outperforming the overall market and many competitors. Because of this massive run, market cap went all the way up to 1 trillion. And PE ratio is at 32, so again, you're paying a small premium for the stock. As of right now, the dividend yield is at 1.15%. Payout ratio is really low at only 8%, so there's plenty of room to grow the dividend here. The 5-year growth rate is at 7% and they increased their dividends for 1 year in a row now. For many people, it is a no-go to buy stocks that have seen massive gains recently. But this is not always the case in my opinion. With TSM, I think you got a high quality business for the future that pays a juicy dividend with insanely low payout ratios. Moving on to my favorite company in the world, Visa. Up only 20% year to date, but the company had some momentum in the second part of the year. Visa is a 622 billion market cap company with PE ratio at 31, indicating you pay a small premium for the stock. The silver lining here is that PE ratio is massively coming down compared to the 5-year number. And one of the main reasons why Visa is my favorite company is because of the dividends. Dividend yield is of course not too crazy at 0.76%. But take a look at those growth rates. The 5-year average is at 15%, and they have been growing that dividend over 16 years now. To make things even better, payout ratio is again insanely low at only 21%. Down the line, Visa is a high quality business, You pay a small premium for the stock, but in my opinion, it's worth it. The company keeps on improving their business and the stock price isn't going anywhere for now. Interesting times to stack up some shares in my opinion. Another payment tech company is AXP. This company has seen massive gains with a 61% increase year to date, pushing the market cap all the way up to 215 billion. Yet PE ratio is still a bit on the lower side here at 22, indicating that this stock could be massively undervalued. Looking at their dividends, I also get really excited. Dividend yield is at almost 1% and payout ratio is also looking really good at only 21%. The 5-year growth rate is at 11% and they have been increasing that dividend for 3 years in a row now. The lockdown periods ended their previous growth streak. Down the line, I think AXP is a great company. Hence why this company is on my buy list. And I can't wait to pull the trigger on this stock. Moving on to the last payment company on the list, we have the one and only MasterCard. This stock is up 25% year to date, slightly better than Visa. MasterCard has a market cap of 488 billion and PE ratio is at 40. And it is a similar situation as with Visa. This number is coming down drastically versus the 5-year average. However, it is much higher than Visa and AXP, for example. MasterCard has a great dividend scorecard, with the yield sitting at 0.5% and only a 19% payout ratio. Dividends are growing at really high numbers, with a 5-year growth rate of 15%. They have been growing that dividend for 13 years in a row now. Down the line, I think MasterCard is yet another high-quality business that is ready for the future. Personally, I prefer Visa or AXP over this one, but still it is an amazing company that you almost can't go wrong with in the long term. And now we have a bit of a wild card. Clear Secure. Not many people know this company, but I stumbled on this stock thanks to Ryan Williams, a great YouTube channel about investing. And it's not the first time, to be honest, that Ryan comes up with a great stock. Year to date, this stock is up 32%, but most recently they jumped off a cliff after the earnings. It is only a 2.6 billion market cap company, which is also very young. One of the reasons what makes them so interesting. PE ratio is at 32, which may sound a bit high, but this company is in their growth state. They just started paying dividends, and the interesting part is that dividend yield is at 1.85% and payout ratio is at 35%. Since they just started, there are no growth streaks yet. Down the line, I think it could be a really interesting play for the long term. For now, I think I will do a deep dive very soon, but it is definitely looking really interesting with this one. Moving on to a company you might have heard of before, Google. This stock is up only 26% year to date, and it has been a bumpy ride for the stock so far. Google is a 2.70 trillion market cap company, making them one of the bigger companies in the world. Yet PE ratio is at only 23 right now, indicating that this behemoth is undervalued. And they just started paying dividends, coming in at almost 0.5% dividend yields, and payout ratio at only 5%, which is great. There is plenty of room to grow the dividends in the future. There are no growth streaks to be reported yet, since they just started paying dividends. Down the line, I think Google is one of the most interesting companies right now. They are focusing on growth again, and PE ratio is like really low. Also one of the reasons why I bought shares recently, and I'm planning to buy some more in the coming periods. And another interesting stock that has started paying dividends recently is Meta. This stock has seen massive gains with an 80% increase year to date. The market cap is at 1.6 trillion and PE ratio is at 29. And compared to the 5-year average, this is looking really good. Dividend yield is coming in at 0.33%, which is of course not the highest. But looking at their payout ratio, I think this will be growing at high numbers in the future. Since they just started paying dividends, there is no growth streak yet to be reported. Down the line, I kinda regret not buying Meta stock when it was at much lower prices. I was in the opportunity to do so, but I decided to buy other stocks for multiple reasons. And it turns out that Meta was the better choice. But that's life. You can't always win in the stock market, which is perfectly fine by me. At that time, it looked like my choice was the better option. It turns out not to. So Meta is on my buy list and I'm doing a full deep dive very soon. And moving on to the last company on this list, Texas Instruments. This stock is up only 15% and one of the lowest in this list. Market cap is at 177 billion and PE ratio is at 36. And it is no deny that the company is struggling a little bit. Hence why PE ratio is much higher compared to the 5-year average. But looking at their dividends, I really get excited. The dividend yield is one of the highest in this list, with almost 3% dividend yield. Payout ratio is way too high right now, also driven by some bad results lately. I expect this number to go down in the coming quarters or even years. The 5-year growth rate is looking really good at 10%, and they have been increasing the dividend for 19 years in a row now, one of the highest in this list. Down the line, I think TXN is a great company. And yes, this company is struggling a little bit lately, but in terms of dividends, this is a great pick, if you want to have a bit of a higher yield. And the list ends here. I think all of these 10 companies have a specific niche what makes them very interesting. Some of these companies are insanely big, and some have high growth potential to become one of the biggest companies in the world in the future. Tech companies are always interesting because of their growth potential. But it is also interesting to look at their dividends. This is also an indicator for the future performance of the company in my opinion, because it kind of reflects the outlook of the company. Nevertheless, it is always a good thing to keep your eye on the valuation, because tech companies tend to trade at a premium. So remember to always do your own research and never fully trust on what I or other YouTubers say about a stock. I'm not a financial advisor and this content is just for entertaining purposes only. I hope you liked this video and I did bring some insights of the company to you. I would really appreciate a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to get notified when I'm posting a new video. Thanks for watching and I will see you in my next video.